Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. So, guys, we've just seen George Kambosos lose a 12-round unanimous decision against Devin the Dream Haney. Pretty disappointed, to be honest with you. I thought it was a pretty poor fight. Devin really won pretty comfortably. And I thought Kambosos would win a close decision because I thought the judges would, the fight would be close and the judges would probably favor him. But the fight was pretty easy for Haney. I don't really think Kambosos fought very poor. He barely threw any punches. I know people are going to say, well, Haney was some of the fanboys are going to say, well, Haney was so good. And, you know, to be honest, Haney, I can't even remember him landing any power shots. I can't even, he barely landed anything. What I mean in terms of power shots, eye-catching shots. He basically won the fight with his jab. And Kambosos did nothing, really. He was out of range a lot. You know, look at guys like when Maidana fought Floyd Mayweather. Now, stylistically, people are different. Maidana was nowhere near a superior fighter as Floyd or boxer as Floyd. But look how hard he made both fights for him. He made Mayweather work. You know, and some people even thought Maidana deserved something from the fight. And Haney's no Floyd. You know, Haney gets caught with a lot of shots. You know, and yeah, he's got a few of Mayweather's traits, nowhere near as good as Mayweather. But Kambosos was just so poor. He was so poor. I just thought he was terrible. I honestly thought he was really poor for a guy that's at this level to not be throwing, to basically get, you knew you had to get close to him. You knew at range he was going to outbox you, right? You didn't even get close. And yeah, I thought it was very poor. I thought it was very, very poor from Kambosos. Made it so easy for Haney. Basically, tried to beat him at his game at distance. You're not going to beat Devin Haney at distance. He's taller than you. He's got the longer reach. He's faster than you. He's got better reflexes than you. And I just thought it was a very poor performance. I thought it was a poor game plan. And maybe Kambosos was a one-hit wonder. Maybe he wasn't that good. I definitely think that Haney, I think Haney will be tested against the other guys in the division. I'm still not sold on Haney. I didn't think it was that impressive. I just think that Kambosos was really poor. It was impressive in the sense that he beat him comfortably, but I don't really look at that and think that, Haney's the best lightweight out there, or he beats Lomachenko, schools them all. Gervonta Davis probably knocks Haney out, and Shakur Stevenson outclasses Haney. I think Kambosos was just very poor, very, very poor. And I actually thought Kambosos might be underrated, but Salman, you called it. You said that, Haney would beat Kambosos. What did you make of it? Were you impressed with Haney, or what did you make of the fight?
It was a pretty poor fight, to be honest. Both had no power. There was nothing in the fight. It's just Haney kind of just neutralized him behind the jab, really, and just he outclassed him with his feet work, and he was able to do that because Kambosos was so poor. He was just so poor. He was just so bad. He didn't look like an undisputed champion, if I'm being honest. I'm sorry, but it was like he just fluked it against Teofimo, and I always knew he would lose this fight against Haney. I didn't think that he would win this fight. Even in the rematch, I can't see it being any different, to be honest. Even if it's fought in Australia twice, he's going to lose twice because he's not got it. He can't beat this sort of style. He just doesn't.
To be honest,
he's really get neutralized.
Really, a rematch. There shouldn't be a rematch. It was a pretty rubbish fight and pretty one-sided.
Exactly. There won't be no crowd in the second one for sure because no one wants to see that again. It's a snooze fest. Really.
It's hard staying up watching that crap. It was even Haney's performance. He barely landed any power punches. Can you remember him landing anything big? Any power punches, anything solid, it's an eye-catching punch. When I saw Mayweather fight, Mayweather landed so many big shots in his fights. This guy, he doesn't barely land any big shots. Literally didn't land any. I can't remember him landing anything big where he snapped George Kambosos' head back. Or literally, there was nothing. It was, firstly, you're gonna put a lot of the casual fans to sleep with that kind of style. people's comparing him to Floyd Mayweather, and I almost laugh. Haney's nothing like Floyd Mayweather. Maybe, when Mayweather was like that when he went up to welterweight, because Mayweather was he was so smaller than the other guys, and he had to fight that way. But at 135, and Haney's basically as big as Mayweather, really, right? At 135, Mayweather was a monster. Like, Mayweather was combination punches. He was knocking people out. Not this snooze fest type of fights where he's barely Haney did, like I said, man, I've watched a lot of boxing. I know what I'm watching. And I know some of you are going to come in the comment section and say, no, I know what I'm watching, right? That was not, that's not, he's landing hardly any big shots. People say, oh, well, that's boxing. No. Go watch Mayweather at 135 and then you'll see what boxing is. Landing big shots, combination punches, 3, 4. Where was Haney landing? Is Haney landing any combination punches? He's landing nothing. And this was against a very poor Kambosos, really. I thought Kambosos was terrible.
True.
You know what I mean?
Maybe, I think Kambosos was terrible as well. I think like someone like Floyd, if he fought someone like Kambosos,
he would stop him at 6 rounds, maybe 5 rounds.
He would destroy him.
He
would destroy
6
him
rounds. Won't go past 6 rounds. Won't go past 6 rounds. Wouldn't go past 6 rounds. And this is why I'm saying that I think Haney is a little overrated, in the sense that the hype that he's been getting from the American, I don't think he's anywhere near the generational talent like that people are making out. Like, I had some people saying that, Haney would beat a prime Pacquiao.
No, I don't think he's on those guys' level, to be honest. But
no,
I think there's way tougher fights out there for him than this.
Yeah.
Based on that performance, I don't think he's the best lightweight in the world. I think Lomachenko and Davis are probably the best lightweights in the world.
And Shakur Stevenson, when he moves up, would be a problem.
At the minute, he's at 130, but
when he moves up, he's a problem.
Yeah, but.
And even Ryan Garcia, stylistically, is not an easy fight for Devin Haney. He's a lot harder fight than Kambosos, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, probably, because I think Ryan Garcia will probably bring the fight, throw a lot more combinations.
Yeah, he's faster as well.
Yeah, so he'll be a bit more reckless.
What about Isaac Pitbull Cruz?
Against who?
Devin Haney.
Yeah, but I've always said that Isaac Cruz is a problem for anyone. But to be honest, I think Haney would just against Cruz, because Cruz doesn't have a jab, right? Cruz has he has fast combinations. What Haney's just going to do is box on the back foot and just stink the place out and win a points win against Cruz, because Cruz doesn't have a jab. Cruz is a guy that's just going to load up with shots and try to swing, and Haney's just going to box. That sort of style would work. That sort of style would be good for Haney, because he would just school him he's small. Yeah, he would beat Cruz. He would beat Cruz, I think, because I just think he would. I think he would just box on the back foot and make it a boring fight and win that way. But yeah, I don't think based on that performance, like that he made a statement that he's the best lightweight in the world. No way. I think Lomachenko and Davis at this present time probably are the best 2 lightweights in the world. And
he has all the belts now, though.
He has all the belts, but I think he's contractually bound. If he beats Kambosos again, then the next fight's going to be Lomachenko.
It's a rubbish rematch, man. I hope that fight, they find a way to get around it, because contractually they have to do it, but that was a really poor fight. And I don't want to have to watch that one again. Lomachenko is the fight, really, because Lomachenko, for me, beats everyone. The only guy that probably stands a chance against Lomachenko is Shakur Stevenson might beat... Shakur Stevenson might beat Lomachenko, and Davis probably has a chance. Davis gets outboxed, but Davis has that puncher's chance against Lomachenko. I don't see how Haney outboxes, because a lot of people said, well, Lomachenko has trouble with bigger guys. The problem is with Haney, he has literally no power. He has literally no power. So Lomachenko's going to have no issue, right, getting in and out and confusing him and troubling him. I actually think Lomachenko would do what Haney did to Kambosos, but he'd do it in much more convincing, and he'd do it in a much more eye-pleasing manner. I don't see how Haney's got no power. That's a big... You see, when you've got literally no power, right? That's a big problem when you've come up against the real elite. I don't see Kambosos as an elite. When you come up against the real elite fighters, power is very important. See, a lot of people don't understand. They look at Mayweather and say, "Oh, Mayweather had power. Mayweather had power where he could sting you. He could also put punches together in bunches, and he had decent power even at welterweight. Haney doesn't have power. He doesn't. You can tell when you watch him, he doesn't have any power. You don't see anybody getting troubled. Most of the top fighters that he fought aren't troubled by his power, and I think Haney would get against Lomachenko would get dominated. I think, in my opinion.
I think that's the obviously next fight to be made. If Haney can beat Lomachenko, then obviously I would say that he is probably then.
I think Haney would outbox Tank, but I think Tank would get him. I think Tank somewhere along the line. I think Tank's a good boxer as well, to be honest. I think his boxing skills are probably a little underrated. But I think Tank will find a way because Tank hits hard, man. He hits hard. He knocks people out.
And to be honest, I think Tank only takes time on the fighters he knows that can punch.
Yeah.
With Haney, he's not going to take no time because he knows his feather fist coming back. It's like Barrios was massive, so you had to see what was coming back. Romero, he was a big puncher, so he was just seeing what they had. But that's why I say that even with Lomachenko and Haney, those guys aren't going to trouble him. With he's got a granite chin, he can take big punches, from big punches. So I think he would start fast against those guys because he knows that these guys can't hurt. I ain't gonna be hurt by these guys because Tank is a tank. He's a dog. And I personally think if he clips Haney, his fight's over. If he wobbles Haney or anything, the fight's over because I think Haney does have that vulnerability when he gets hit. His legs do, he does seem a bit vulnerable. He doesn't seem the most toughest of guys if he is to be hit. Like Mayweather was very tough and very durable. I don't see that in Haney if he gets clipped.
I think Haney's been very lucky in the sense that he found himself in a great position where he got this fight with Kambosos, and Kambosos was in the end, his performance here showed that he was a pretty limited fighter. And it's not taking anything away from Haney, but I'm looking at what's around, you see. Like, there's no way you're telling me Kambosos beats Lomachenko. There's no way Kambosos beats Gervonta Davis. And those guys have firepower. Those guys are...
The thing is now, a lot of people think, if you hold the belts, you're the best fighter in the division. This doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. No. If you hold the belts, you're the... but Mayweather was never undisputed, but, there was no dispute that he was the best fighter, So, to be honest, even Lomachenko needs to come back and prove himself because obviously his last fight was against Lopez.
No,
sorry,
Comey.
Against Comey. Sorry,
he looked really good in that fight against Comey, and Comey's a good fighter.
Obviously, now he's going to need to come back against someone that's. I don't know whether he comes back straight against Haney. I would like to just see him go straight in with Haney. Because I don't want to see,
You know what? I'm looking at that fight, man. I don't know how Haney wins that fight. How can he beat Lomachenko? I don't see the Lomachenko's a superior boxer. He's just a better boxer. It's very difficult to outbox Lomachenko because Lomachenko ain't gonna do what Kambosos did. He's gonna use angles, his hand speed, his foot speed, his footwork. Lomachenko's a master. And actually, Lomachenko's a bigger puncher than Devin Haney. And he's got a really good chin. So how the hell is Haney going to win that one? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the sort of fights we need to see, innit? We need to see if Haney can beat someone like Lomachenko because Kambosos, in my opinion, I never really thought he was that great anyways. But if Haney can find a way to beat Lomachenko, then obviously we can say that, yeah, he is a great fighter.
The best lightweight, yeah.
Yeah, but I would say he still needs to beat Davis because the thing is, you have to beat all the fighters in your division to be the best.
Honestly, I can't see him beating Davis. I think Davis is very fast himself, and Davis can be outboxed. But I think Davis hits too hard. He hits too hard, and he will find a way to land on Haney. And when he does, I think it's good night. I think he hits too hard.
Plus, the thing is, Tank's got a good jab as well. You know, Tank's got a good jab.
Eventually, he's gonna find a way. You know what I mean? Because that's what Davis does.
It's like, for example, if Tank fought Kambosos, he would iron Kambosos out. Like, I would be pretty confident he would iron Kambosos out within 6-7 rounds.
I actually think Lomachenko would stop Kambosos as well. I think Lomachenko would beat the crap out of Kambosos. Like, he just, you know what he did to...
Peppering.
Yeah. You know what he did to, like...
Commey,
yeah. I don't think he stopped Commey, though, did he? Did he stop him?
I don't know.
Oh, he was on the verge anyway, but he beat the crap out of him. Or Nakatani, remember?
Yeah, but Lomachenko's not really a big puncher. He's the type of guy that just peppers you away.
But he does beat you up.
That's what I mean, but he's not really like a one-hitter quick.
But you wouldn't say, would you say Haney beat Kambosos up in there?
Not really.
No.
It was just he just neutralized him and just jabbed him.
But this is what I'm saying. There's a difference between just like winning the rounds and beating somebody up. I think Kambosos. I think Lomachenko would beat Kambosos up. Like, he would batter him.
Probably.
Whereas Haney just kind of was winning the rounds. And do you think Haney's an exciting fighter?
No, I don't think no one thinks he's in it. What I think he's done, right? He's just based his whole style on Floyd Mayweather, I think. But the problem is that he doesn't have no power. And I think eventually when he fights someone that's, you know, got good feet, that's good himself, that can punch, I think he's going to be in trouble, to be honest, because we've seen a glimpse of it in the Linares fight when he got clipped.
Would you say Linares is a better fighter than Kambosos?
Yeah, but that's obvious though. That's obvious. I always said Linares was Haney's hardest fight. That performance, I was actually more impressed by Haney, to be honest, because Haney showed me more. He stood there and fought. Okay, this one was like, it was just a safety first, no risks taken. That fight, he took risks. That's why he got clipped in the end.
But I think Linares also hits hard. I think Linares hits pretty hard.
Linares is a better fighter than Kambosos, full stop.
Yeah.
Even at this age, he was better. I would pick Linares to beat Kambosos. Kambosos is nothing special. Kambosos is an average fighter that had a split decision against Lee Selby. So it goes to show how great he really was. He just probably got a good night against Teofimo.
That was an old Lee Selby as well, a washed up one.
Exactly. So how good was he really? Personally, I think Haney, he's got a lot to work on. I think he needs more pop. Like, he should have really beat the. I think he should have stopped.
Pop is not something that you can.
Should have really stopped Kambosos, to be honest. Should have really stopped him, because Kambosos was nothing really. He's not nothing, to be honest. I think all the top fighters, Lomachenko, Davis, all of them would. If anyone had fought him, they would have become undisputed. This was not a challenge. This is not something to be mooned by, to be undisputed by beating Kambosos. That's the problem.
Yeah, but being undisputed doesn't matter who you beat. You're undisputed.
I get that.
You might not be the consensus number one by a lot of the fans.
Yeah, but the thing is, as a fighter, you should want to beat the best. Like Canelo, he wants to beat
Kambosos
the best.
is the best at this point. He was the undisputed.
But not really. He wasn't, though, was he? Like, you can tell he wasn't. He just, you know, you can tell from his previous fights that he wasn't that great. He didn't really do anything against Lopez. It's not like it was a close fight against Lopez, and Lopez might have not been 100%. We don't know what he was going through. So,
do you think Lomachenko is the best lightweight in the world?
I think either Lomachenko or Tank, they both have to fight, and we have to see, because.
But Haney's just become the undisputed champion, but you're not impressed by him. What's going on?
I just don't. He did what he needed to do against Kambosos, you know. I'm not that impressed, because obviously Kambosos is what Kambosos is. He wasn't the best lightweight in the world. I always told you, he was a one-fight wonder. Like, he didn't have the skills to pay the bills. He just didn't. You know, he's not impressive. He's not an impressive fighter. He's another Jeff Horn. You know, when they come up against good fighters, they're going to end up losing, you know. And Haney didn't even do anything.
But look at so when Jeff Horn came up against Terence Crawford, look at the way Terence Crawford beat Jeff Horn.
Exactly.
And then look at the way Haney beat Kambosos. Kambosos is probably a bit better than Jeff Horn in terms of technically a bit more, you know, Horn was like technically so.
You know what it is, yeah? Kambosos is just a rough and tough fighter with no talent, really.
I won't say no talent. He has got fast hands, but he barely used
Basically, he just came up with a guy that was more gifted than him, really. Haney's more gifted than Kambosos.
I wouldn't say he's got
it is.
no talent. That's a bit harsh, but I would say that
He's got some skills, but it's not like you could like Haney's obviously.
But
more
what we mean
talented.
is he shouldn't have been at that level.
He shouldn't be undisputed. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But then again, look, Lopez beat Lomachenko, right? Lopez did win that fight against Lomachenko, right? But to be honest, we don't know what Lomachenko might be.
But Salman, you could say that about Devin Haney in the sense that if Devin Haney, if for example Gervonta Davis or Lomachenko had the belts, Devin Haney probably wouldn't have become undisputed. Do you see what I mean? So sometimes you find find yourself.
Styles make fights, innit? Styles make fights. Like Lopez's style was good enough to beat Lomachenko, but you know Lopez's style wasn't good for Kambosos. But that's what separates a great fighter. Great fighters can beat every style. That's the difference between Mayweather. He beat every single style. Boxer, person with fast hands, person that could punch and knock you out in one shot. That's what I see with a lot of these fighters. Like, you know, eventually they come against a style where they lose because they can't counteract it. But that's what Mayweather could do. He could counteract every single style.
I think
that's why he was great.
I think the thing is with Haney, I think, like I said, he's got glimpses of Floyd Money Mayweather. But Mayweather had so much more. Mayweather, remember early on in his career when he was at 135, he was a very aggressive fighter. He was actually a fighter who actually took a lot of shots. If you go and watch Mayweather's fight against DeMarcus Chop Corley, basically he was getting caught with huge shots. Mayweather got caught with a left hook in that fight, flush on the chin, and Mayweather just ate it. And this is what I mean. Mayweather early on was a very aggressive fighter, and he actually used to get caught with big punches. Haney doesn't come across like that at all. And how's he going to move up the weights with literally zero power? And the guys are bigger, stronger, they hit harder, right? And he has no power. So literally, guys will... Imagine if Haney came up against someone like Marcus Maidana. You know, imagine what Maidana walked through Floyd. Do you know what I mean? He was literally walking on Floyd, and Floyd has way more power than Haney. Imagine what someone like Maidana would have done to Haney. Just walk down, because Kambosos had really slow feet. He couldn't cut the distance. People like Maidana or fighters of that mold will cut the distance. They'll cut and they hit hard. And if you don't have any power, there's a big problem. There's a big problem. I do think power is going to be a big issue for Devin Haney. And when he comes up against Tank or even Lomachenko, it's going to be very tough for him, because those guys, or Lomachenko for me is more skilled than Haney. And he has quicker feet and probably has faster hands than Haney. The only thing Haney has in that fight is he's bigger than Lomachenko, probably has the longer reach. But I think those are difficult fights for him. I think the lack of power will show at that elite level. Would you agree?
Yeah, but both those fights are different though. The Lomachenko and Tank fights are different styles, different sort of, like Tank's gonna walk him down literally and just beat him up. That's what Tank will do. Tank will look to just beat him up, whereas Lomachenko will look to have more of a tactical match with him. I think Tank will just look to pound him in, because he's not going to have no pop, so Tank's going to realise this guy can't punch, so I'm just going to go after him, you know, and try to bash it. And the thing is with Tank, right, which no one gives him credit for, this guy stops people with body shots as well. This guy's not a one-trick pony where he's just going to land for, you know, look for, you know, big swings to the head. This guy's a clever fighter, trust me. Like against Barrios, he stopped him to the body. You know, sometimes you've got to be clever in fights, and I think Tank's too clever. I think Tank will pound Devin Haney's body, and it'll slow down the top, and then he'll clip him. I think he's too clever. Tank doesn't get... his IQ's underrated, very underrated. Like even against Romero, that was a set-up shot. He set that up. People don't see it, but he's seen the pattern that, you know, Romero was doing, and he clipped him. So it's going to be the same. He can figure out. He figures you out, and He realizes what patterns what you're doing with your feet. He's a very intelligent, very high IQ sort of boxer. It seems like he's not doing anything in fights, and sometimes he's getting beat. But trust me, he knows what he's doing. Like even when he, like for example, when he fought against Barrios, that right hook, like he feinted to the body and then came over the top. He's intelligent as well. So those fights are going to be tough for Haney, Lomachenko, and Davis, because those guys' IQ's on a different level to Kambosos. Kambosos looked really like he didn't have a clue in there. You know, he didn't have a plan. He didn't know what he was doing really. He was just in there really, but he couldn't figure anything out. Those guys will be able to make adjustments during the fight, and then we'll have to see how great Haney really is, if he is.
Leave your thoughts, guys. Let us know what you think. Devin the Dream Haney becomes undisputed champion, outclassing George Kambosos in a relatively dull fight, in a relatively one-sided affair. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.